Hello, everybody. Today we're going to be taking a look at a game that we played earlier in the week. We are playing a supply specialist with a Tarantula Fang start against our opponent with a quick supply start with a Ball Crawler. Chances are our opponent's going to be going for early Mustangs into these Fangs and getting a very early tempo lead against our board. We have a very interesting game where we are playing eventually against the Gospel. And we're going to show you how to defend against it. The Gospel being Rhino Wasp. If you are unaware, we'll get into a little bit of the intricacies of how this matchup works later on. Opponent deciding what side to be asimming on. I wonder if it's possible that it's better to stack my tarantulas beside each other on the same side of the board. So I have a big force just like they do, but again, you're sacrificing a side of your board and you're basically 50-50ing on whether or not you get the right side, and then you have a crossfire situation potentially. And I really don't know how that goes, so I'd opt for the wide start. Honestly, knowing that I'm probably going to be losing this first round, but coming into it with a game plan of Steel Ball and Mustangs coming in, the general idea is usually to defend against this is just to build sledgehammers, which we will be doing as soon as possible. Especially being a supply specialist and saving 50 on the first round means we're going to be coming into round 2 with an extra 100 supply over our opponent. And by the time round 4 comes around, we've evened out the eco, and by round 5 we're plus 50 on eco, round 6 plus 100 overall for the entire game, and so on and so forth. Round 2 comes around after we lose the first round. All these cards are interesting. Mass-produced Phoenix being free, not necessarily free, it's minus 50 because skipping is plus 50. And the 50 cost card, obviously 100. Immediately we buy 2 sledges. We have 150 left over. We're probably going to mass recruit an extra crawler. Opponent goes for the massed produced Phoenix card, which reduces attack and HP by 30%, but cuts the cost of a Phoenix in half for level 1. Opponent buys 2 Phoenixes and a crawler, places 2 of 3 deployments on the right side of the board for us. As you can see, the sledges are doing work defending against the Steel Ball Mustang setup here, as the Steel Balls are really good at slowing down both Steel Balls, or the sledges are really good at slowing down the Steel Balls and the Mustangs, being relatively decent HP units, and Steel Balls need a full ramp up of their full 3 seconds to actually kill a sledge, so it takes a very long time for Steel Balls to kill sledges, typically. All our Fangs died here, but thankfully the ones on the right took out the Phoenix on the right as well, and will clean up the rest of the board for us, so we actually come out on a win, even though we don't have effective upshoot, but we have effective enough upshoot. Here we have a couple cards dropped. We immediately picked up the heavy armor. Smoke is a good card here as well. I could drop smoke and oil here. That is a very effective combo. It is round 3. It is a typical oil round. But we do have to deploy our board out, so we will be doing that as well. We decide to go for bubbles to protect from the smoke. And after we buy our units, we buy a marksman to deal with the Phoenix on the right. We buy an extra tarantula to help just chunk this down altogether. We put the heavy armor on the higher XP sledgehammer. And our opponent has yet to place anything on the board as of yet. They have decided on the smoke being the card they want. They buy 2 units, 200 cost each, Steel Ball and a Mustang pack. Mustangs obviously to clear out my fangs, which they probably will. I am knowing about this build out on this side. It seems pretty obvious that's the game plan, unless opponent really committed back to this side. Hence why I already picked up the marksman, just to make sure I have a little bit of extra single target damage for whatever he's bringing, and a little extra upshoot, as I have a feeling my fangs won't be surviving the length of the round, and I didn't have enough money to buy my own Mustangs, which would have been probably my other choice here. I don't really like buying marksmans early, but in this game it seemed efficient enough. Board on the left side seems to be winning for us. Board on the right side looks like we're going to lose all our fangs, but our tarantula, being mostly under the bubble, should be surviving, and our marksman should take out the 2 phoenixes on the right. And it looks like our fangs on the left are going to survive this round and take out the phoenixes there. So we have a good steel ball defense so far from our side of the board. Our opponent's still widening the board, so we really don't know what their game plan is at the moment. They've committed more into ball. It hasn't seemed to work. I don't really need to buy a sledgehammer on the right because we are killing everything there. The wasp drop comes out on round 4, unit drop. Looks like we take the wasp and we take range on our tarantulas this turn. Opponent immediately drops the 2 wasps on the flank. Wanted to shake up the board, I guess, a little bit more. Just kept on expanding from here, expanded here, expanded here. So opponent's really trying to stretch our board out, and even coming all the way around, expanding here. Opponent got 2 free units, has bought 1 crawler, 2 crawler, and has bought a 3rd crawler. Places all 4 on the right side flank here. This should be huge red flags for people playing. If you see wasps coming in on the flank here like this, in any form or fashion, especially if there is a 3 gap here. This 3 gap is a very big red flag. And we also drop the oil on the left here just to help us out because the Mustangs have finally leveled on the opponent's board. So we want to just slow them down, give our sledges a little bit of extra time shooting at the steel balls because these fangs are going to get absolutely shredded by the Mustangs if we don't have a shield up. And even more so if my tarantula is churning around. Anyway, we'll let the rest of the round play out unpaused. So over here, we're definitely not going to be able to chew through everything on that flank there, so we're definitely going to have to come up with a proper game plan for what is on the board. Thankfully, we won the last round, so we have the tempo lead for whatever they're planning. We dropped a missile in front of those steel balls to help us just chew through it a little bit quicker. Opponent does completely devastate my flank here. It looks like my marksman is getting locked on though. Some of my crawlers survive. And it looks like I'm getting lucky with the wasps chasing my crawlers rather than going for my tower, which is a huge benefit for me. About 5 wasps churn to my marksman. Thankfully my marksman is underneath that shield. And my wasps on the left go down again, feeding those Mustangs a card on the board, or a unit on the board that just doesn't really help my board out at all, other than killing that flank crawler with my tarantula. Looks like here it's a 50-50 toss-up on whether or not this marksman can kill everything in the air before Everything else on my board dies before my marksman can get to it. Yeah, it looks like those wasps are going to clear those crawlers very quickly. And I am not going to have... Actually, it might be okay if there wasn't a tower debuff. So we take a little bit of damage. And now we have to come up with a proper response. We are given Improved Wraith, Laser Sight, and Haste. There was a Boat card there as well. Opponent takes the Laser Sight. I take the Improved Wraith, which gives you +5 range on the Wraith and 30% buff to its attack. But it increases the cost by 50, so instead of a 300 cost unit, it is now a 350 cost unit. We're immediately 8 gunning. Opponent is getting their rhinos set up on the board. I don't have enough money to place anything for the rhinos because, well, I know that the wasps are going to be the main problem on my board, or from my opponent for me. I'm not too worried about the rhino yet. That is a problem for round 6 for me, as I've decided. And we've matched the crawlers as well. Opponent has bought some crawlers to put in front and a rhino. They're deciding on how to efficiently get best use of their money, I think. They don't have a lot of time. They just resell the same thing, do the exact same thing again. Buy the rhino, drop it over. Cutting it very close for opponent. So this is the gospel basically in work. Opponent has yet to take range on the wasps. That should have probably happened this round. He probably actually wins this flank if he takes the range this turn. But thankfully my Wraith is enough for this turn without the range. For a round that could have been devastating to me, it ends up churning around quite nicely. Opponent doesn't take the range on the wasp, which probably would win them at least the flank, if not the whole entire round then. As I don't really have any effective upshoot other than, what, 2 fangs over here somewhere? Yeah, 2 fangs. Take the round, of course. I'm gonna level. Opponent takes the other laser sight. I skip. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be upgrading this Wraith. We're going to be selling this Crawler. We're going to be getting Steel Balls down to deal with the Rhinos this time because they're not summoning in. So we need to get rid of them as quickly as possible so our Wraith can shoot at the Wasps. Opponent takes range this turn. This could prove very useful for him. They don't need to move. It also takes anti-air, so this is a huge power spike for my opponent to win the round and keep the tempo going in their favor. We're dropping missiles to clear the crawlers as quickly as possible so our steel balls don't get stuck on crawlers and so that the wasps of the opponent have more things to shoot at. Essentially, if I'm not shooting at crawlers and my opponent is, I'm kind of winning the headbutt, essentially, which is why flanking like this is typically not recommended by high-level players. This play here with the Rhino here is very well thought out, but it does require probably a Wasp Pack behind as well, which is not there. So this flank push is going to feel kind of ineffective. Maybe not ineffective is not the right word, but a little slower than it could be. Though it looks like the split is perfect, I do have a couple crawlers running right at, but I clear everything on the ground really quickly, so everything churns and goes. But with the anti-air on the Wasp, my Wraith does die, but we've killed everything on the ground. We've protected our tower. It's probably about all we can hope for this round. We don't have enough money to get range and Steel Balls level 2 out early enough. The reason I go for level 2 Steel Balls is I know it's going to be a level 2 Rhino. And higher level Steel Balls, the faster the ramp up damage is, the faster you kill the Rhinos, the more time, or if you kill the Rhinos, that means everything that you have is now tanking for your Wraith against the Wasp. It looks like we have enough units as long as these don't, or if these units don't all die, the Wasps should clean up, but if all these units do die, these Wasps will die very quickly. And it looks like we get enough tank ability to kill those Wasps without any real issues. Round 7. We have a Melting Point drop. I think Melting Point's the easy answer for us, anything that gets close. Worm is an interesting choice for opponent, as I think you could easily just drop a Rhino here and rush in from both sides. Or with the Worm on one of them. I end up keeping the Melting Point because I figure high HP unit, opponent's rushing me with Rhinos. Single target damage is pretty good. I end up buying a Marksman. I don't know if that was last round. I think it was last round, actually. I was deciding whether or not to place the Crawler right up against the Rhino or on the side. Opponent double techs with the Power Armor and the Whirlwind. The Power Armor makes the slow from the missiles no longer slow, or any slow from that matter, including oil and EMP. Actually, I guess EMP doesn't stop because you don't have Photon because it disables the tech, so I guess EMP would slow for this round. Obviously, we're not going to get that all the way through if this game continues with Photon Coating coming out, as that would prevent the EMP from doing anything. Opponent has double leveled these Wasps to level 3. Has dropped the smoke, and it looks like with the range on the Wraiths finally, and ground spec on the Wasps, as they want to kill as quickly as possible the Steel Balls, hence why we have the shield bubble here this turn. It also helps defend our Steel Balls from the ground spec Wasps that are coming in and the Rhinos. Killing these crawlers as quickly as possible and having maybe a little bit of extra crawlers coming in to tank a little bit of extra shots from these Wasps will be beneficial. Opponent again trying to force this corner in, has crawlers and Wasps this time. We do missile out the crawlers and hit the Rhino with it. And this right flank here just completely evaporated as I was watching the Rhino run in and get locked on by the Melting Point. And at this point, the game is over. There's not much left on the board for my opponent. Doesn't have a lot of HP. And we have successfully defended against opponent attempting the Gospel, a Rhino Wasp. So the big key points here is getting 8-gun in range on your Wraith as soon as possible, and then finding a way to kill the Rhinos as quickly as possible. Now, you don't need Steel Ball. You can get away with fast shooting Fort. You can get away with double tap